Hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect. It's a full video this time with me commentating over hopefully the majority of it. I'm able to do that now somewhat. And today is going to be a little bit different in what I build. This time I actually try to base something off of a real life building. I know I kind of did that with the pub that's over in the corner there, but for this one, I want to say it's almost exactly alike. And I'm not going to make any promises and say that I'm going to throw a picture in there because I know I probably will end up forgetting whenever I finish this commentary. So you'll just have to take my word for it. And there's a few aspects about it that I love and took me some time to figure out. But other than that, I think it turns out, pretty nice for what I try to get it to be, because it is a centerpiece for the park's main street. So when you walk straight in, that's what you see on the far side. And I based it off of a old Western church. I mean, I'm sure you can kind of tell just by the way that it looks. And with don't mind the colors, but for now, just you have to kind of visualize it yourself to understand what is going through my head. There is a limit in what you can do. Like I've said in previous videos, you have to always keep everything on a grid, and I did my best to replicate this building just with what I had in the game. And I do hope that at some point, maybe I'll look into mods or something like that, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if you can actually use mods in the campaign mode. I haven't really tried it, but we'll just have to wait and see, and maybe in one of my streams I'll look through the shop and test it out and see what works and what doesn't. And this, of course, is from another stream. This one was not really 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago. And it was a really fun stream. There was quite a bit of people talking in the chat, and it did keep me preoccupied. They gave me some ideas here and there on what I can do in exchange for stuff. Like for instance, here in, I'm not sure if it's right now or later. I think it's a little bit later after I finish the coaster for this. Which, speaking of which, yes, this is sort of the queue line, I guess, the cover building for a coaster, and it is going to be a wooden coaster because that's the only thing I could see fit for something like that. But what I do try to do is I try making a bell, and it was honestly a little bit harder than I thought it would be. I had to go through and find some pieces, some shapes rather, and I think it turned out pretty well. You'll see eventually what I mean. And as you can tell, I've had some problems trying to even this. I don't even know why I can't even think. I just woke up, if you can't tell. I had a little nap after I came home from work. Chimney, that's the word for it. I had a little bit of trouble, and I cut out probably 5 minutes worth of me trying to get it even, because it was bothering me so much. And now we actually get started on the coaster, which I still do not have a name for. So leave a comment down below, a name for what you think what you think would fit this coaster, rather. It is kind of different it's a little bit interesting what I do at first, and I change things up after I finish this. Like this little turn right here, it does this weird S bend kind of thing. Yeah, I don't keep that. It just doesn't really fit for me. And I accidentally bought some land there. I was just trying to see if you were actually able to buy it, because in some of the other levels you were not. And I did like the ending stats for this ride. It was, I believe, high. It wasn't high intensity, it was medium intensity, and then high excitement, I believe, which works for me. I mean, that's sort of what I'm looking for, because the other ride is a high intensity ride. So as long as I get something that's, in between both of those, and it is a fairly large ride. It does take up a pretty big chunk of that corner, which is what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to sort of squeeze in that corner. That way I can take the park off of that main street and go somewhere to the left with it. Sort of where that pub is, and I believe I'll probably add some flat rides in there, or some more stuff like that. And I think it'll look pretty good. And I just did a cut there to show you that I did not like the way that the queue line was going to turn out to be. And I thought it should actually come up to the building, the station rather. And honestly, I think having it like that is a lot better and more realistic. And here's me getting rid of that little S bend there. And even though the building is somewhat bland, you have to kind of think in that sort of Western time frame. A lot of the buildings were very bland and a lot of the same color. All of it was pretty much wood. There was some brick here and there, which I believe I had just unlocked after I had finished this coaster. And I didn't think a brick church would kind of fit that theme. I could always change some of the colors up. I don't want to go too crazy with it. I did do a bunch of different colors around the Main Street Park as well. I kind of accidentally hit some button whenever I was recording, so it cut me off. I had to figure out where exactly I had stopped talking. So if it sounds a little bit weird, that's what happened. I tried to keep the trees a little bit minimum, and I was sticking with palm trees because that's the only thing I could think that would fit somewhat. And here's where I was working on the makeshift bell. And don't judge me too much for it. I was trying my best to get something that looked somewhat realistic enough, since they don't have that kind of thing in the shop that you can build. And I did try adding it to a blueprint, and whenever I did that, it sort of stuck it onto the grid, and I had to go through and remake it, and just it was a pain. And I don't know if it was just because something I had or somewhere I had placed it that made it do that, or what exactly caused it. I'm not sure, but apparently if you do something like that, it throws it on the grid and you can't place it wherever you want. And of course, I've had the fair share of vandalism and vandals, and I always try to cut out those parts because it is a very boring part to watch. If you're in the stream, I'd say it's a little bit easier to watch it because you're listening to me talk about other things other than just the vandals. And I mean, I guess I could be doing that now, but it's still pretty boring to watch and take a look at, just me going around and banning people from the park, which I guess I still need to figure out some, like, the way the training works, because my security guards, they never ever do anything. I'll see them maybe ban one person, and then that'll be it. And I think I have to like go and train them higher up, and I might test it out after I finish this park and just keep them training, and then let it run and see what exactly happens. Because if they do get much better, then that'll save me a lot of time, and I won't have to worry about that. But in this, I am sort of using a lot of money whenever I'm building. And at some point, I believe after this, you're going to notice my money go down by a lot. And it was because I tried making this mountain over by the coaster for it as scenery, and it just kept on doing it too much, and I would get rid of it, and I'd do it again, and then I'd get rid of it again because it would be too big. And I didn't even realize that while I was doing that, it was taking all of my money just to raise the ground and then put it back flat again. So I had a little bit of a money crisis after this. And you know, the more you learn, I don't know why I wasn't thinking whenever that was happening, but it was pretty funny in the stream. And I just threw down some more restrooms, just figured it would be a good fit, since the only other one I think is one that you don't place. It comes with the park towards the front, if I'm not mistaken. But where you see this path right next to it go straight up, that's where I want to keep moving the park into a different direction. And I haven't decided exactly if I wanted to split it up, so maybe go straight and then go left, or I'm thinking that's what I'm gonna do, and then maybe I'll theme them differently, because this is still a theme park, and even though it is in a Western settings, you don't have to completely do only Western, but it is pretty nice to stick with one style. You guys can always come into the stream and help with that, I suppose. This was my other option for a mountain, was to just throw some rocks down and make that a somewhat nicer looking corner for the ride. And because just with it going up that steep and then down like that, it didn't really look that great, but I think it looks a a lot better having all of those different rock pieces around. And I did take some of the colors from the rocks that were already in the park. Like for instance, right in that corner, and even towards the entrance there's some there too. And then I just did some more detail work, threw some lanterns down around it just so that there would be some sort of lighting at nighttime. And maybe next video I'll try to get some nighttime action going on. Whenever I do complete this scenario, I do want to do a not a time lapse like these ones, but just to sit down and just go over everything that I've done in the park, just like a real-time portion video. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it from me, guys. Glad to be back, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.